Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayana Namaskritya Naram Cha Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiriya Nashtaprayesha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. So, continuing with the discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, and today we are starting new chapter, chapter 27, Understanding Material Nature, text number 1 onwards. Shri Bhagwan Uvacha Prakriti Stho Api Purusho Najyate Prakritar Gune Avikarat Kartritvam Nirgunatva Jalarkavat. The personality of Godhead, Kapila continued. When the living entity is thus unaffected by the modes of material nature, because he is unchanging and does not claim proprietorship, he remains apart from the reactions of the modes. Although abiding in a material body, just as the sun remains aloof from its reflection on water. In the previous chapter, Lord Kapil Dev has concluded that simply by beginning the discharge of devotional service, one can attain detachment and transcendental knowledge for understanding the science of God. So simply by beginning the discharge of devotional service, one can attain detachment and transcendental knowledge. Here the same principle is confirmed. A person who is detached from the modes of material nature remains just like the sun reflected on water. When the sun is reflected on water, the movement of the water or the coolness or unsteadiness of the water cannot affect the sun. Similarly, Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita. When one engages fully in the activities of devotional service, Bhakti Yoga, he becomes just like the sun reflected on water. Although a devotee appears to be in the material world, actually he is in the transcendental world. As the sun reflects water appears to be on the water, but is many, many millions of miles away from the water. So one engaged in Bhakti Yoga processes nirguna or unaffected by the qualities of material nature. So the sun reflection on the water, although we see sun inside the water, but sun is not inside the water. It's not even touched by the water or affected by the water. Whether the water is cool or not, sun remains hot. So similarly, Prabhupada is saying, when the person who is in the material world is detached from the material modes, he appears to be in the material world, but he's not. He's completely spiritual. And incidentally, I just chose this picture in my background. Here, Krishna is looking at his reflection in the floor in Dwarka. So sun reflection on the water, or Krishna looking of Krishna, whether the reflection or not is still the supreme, is a supreme absolute truth. But a soul, a person, an entity who is completely detached, even though in the material world he is spiritual. But to come to that level, it will take some time. Avikara means without change. It is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita that each and every living entity is part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. And thus his eternal position is to cooperate or to dovetail his energy with the Supreme Lord. That is his unchanging position. As soon as he employs his energy and activities for sense gratification, this change of position is called vikar. Similarly, even in this material body, when he practices devotional service under the direction of the spiritual master, he comes to the position which is without change, because that is his natural duty. So right now we have a body that is definitely going to change. It will go through different transformations. But Prabhupada says, or Krishna also says, as soon as he employs his energy and activities for sense gratification, this change of position is called vikar, because the change for the position, or that there will be changes in his status. But if he engages in his service, his energy in the service of the Lord, then the position remains unchanged. The position remains avikar. That means whether in the material body or outside this body, he does the same thing. He just serves the Supreme Lord. As stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam, liberation means reinstatement in one's original position. The original position is one of rendering service to the Lord. When one becomes detached from material attraction and engages fully in devotional service, that is changelessness. Akritravat means not doing anything for sense gratification. When one does something at his own risk, there is a sense of proprietorship and therefore a reaction. But when one does everything for Krishna, there is no proprietorship over the activities. By changelessness and by not claiming the proprietorship of activities, one can immediately situate himself in the transcendental position in which one is not touched by the modes of material nature. So, Prabhupada stressed so much on devotional service, and the way Lord Kapil Dev is explaining, every word of his the shloka can be translated into devotional service, but that's the only way it is possible. The living entity, unaffected by the modes of material nature, it does not claim proprietorship, remains apart from the reactions of the modes, all the abiding in the material body. So it's all points to devotional service. That's the only way it's possible. Sa esh yarhi prakriter guneshvabhi vishanjate ahankriya vimuratma kartasmiti abhimanyate. When the soul is under the spell of material nature and false ego, identifying his body as a self, he becomes absorbed in material activities. And by the influence of false ego, he thinks that he is a proprietor of everything. Actually, the conditioned soul is forced to act under the pressure of the modes of material nature. The living entity has no independence. We have independence, but our independence is only to desire something. That's it. And then, as Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita, the three modes of nature take over, and they make us do things depending upon if we deserve it. When he is under the direction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is free. But when under the impression that he is satisfying his senses, he engages in sense gratificatory activities. He is actually under the spell of material nature. So this Maya is so strong. Although we are spiritual, although we are divine, transcendental, we are independent, but because of a desire to control, to enjoy this material nature, this material world, we have come under the clutches of Maya. We think we are enjoying, but we are not actually enjoying, even if there is enjoyment. In Bhagavad Gita, it is said, Prakriti Kriyamanani. One acts according to the particular modes of nature he has acquired. Guna refers to the qualities of nature. He is under the qualities of nature, but he falsely thinks that he is a proprietor. This false sense of proprietorship can be avoided simply by engaging oneself in devotional service under the direction of the Supreme Lord or his bona fide representative. Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita was trying to accept for himself the responsibility for killing his grandfather and teacher in the fight. But he became freed from that proprietorship of action when he acted under the direction of Krishna. He fought, but he was actually freed from the reactions of fighting. Although in the beginning, when he was non-violent, unwilling to fight, the entire responsibility was upon him. That is the difference between liberation and conditioning. So in the beginning, Arjun said, I cannot fight. He just wanted to remain non-violent. He wanted to run away from fighting. But the problem was he was doing it for his own sake. So it was still binding him. And that is when Krishna told him, as a Kshatriya, you're supposed to fight, you cannot run away. So that was a karma yoga. But then later on, bhakti yoga, Krishna gave further instructions, explaining to him, fight for me. Don't run away from fighting. You have to fight. You fight for me as a devotional service, as an offering to me. And then you will remain aloof from any reactions to the karma. So that's the crux of Bhagavad Gita. And that is obtained because he learned it from Krishna himself. So we learn it from Krishna's bona fide representative, Prabhupada. Prabhupada throughout his purpose. Again and again, he stresses on this point. Under the direction, under the guidance of spiritual master, perform your devotion service. That's it. A conditioned soul may be very good and act in the mode of goodness, but still he is conditioned under the spell of material nature. A devotee, however, acts completely under the direction of the Supreme Lord. Thus, his actions may not appear to be of very high quality to the common man, but the devotee has no responsibility. Of course, that doesn't mean he acts irresponsibly. He has to act properly in the society to set a good example for others. But he is completely under the direction of the Supreme. Now that depends upon the degree of surrender, how much surrender we are. So our surrender and Krishna's mercy, they just follow each other. So our surrender means our willingness or our agreement to follow Krishna's directions as they are, without adding anything or subtracting anything. Tena sansara padvim avashobhyeti anirvritaha prasinke karma dosha sad asan mishra yonishu. The conditioned soul therefore transmigrates into different species of life, higher and lower, because of his association with the modes of material nature. Unless he is relieved of material activities, he has to accept this position because of his faulty work. Here the word karma dosha means by faulty actions. This refers to any activity, good or bad, performed in this material world. They are all contaminated, faulty actions because of material association. So any activity, whether good or bad, so-called good or bad, performed in the material world is actually bad. Why? They're all contaminated, like Prabhupada said. Why? Because we have to take or suffer the bad reactions or enjoy the good reactions. But nevertheless, we have to take the material body to do that, to enjoy the good reactions of our karma, to suffer the bad reactions. But we have to take up a material body. And material body means again doing material activities, again doing good and bad activities, but living in the material world, suffering the threefold miseries, going through the process of birth, old age, disease, and death. So where is the fun part? Even in this life, we can see how much we have enjoyed and how much we have suffered and how much we thought we have enjoyed. We might think that, oh, if I become very rich, I will enjoy no suffering at all. But we can see right now, you're rich or poor, doesn't matter, everybody is suffering. Whether it is Prince Charles, he's also suffering from this coronavirus, or a man on the street is also suffering. People in France are throwing their money on the road. They say it's not worth anything right now. France or Italy, somewhere, wherever. So this is the position. And we think by making more money, I can be happy. Not going to happen. Impossible. So whether coronavirus or not, I mean, if not this virus, some other problems will always be there. This is a combined reaction to all our activities. Krishna is sending combined reaction, okay, collective reaction. You all have done plenty of bad karma, so everybody suffer. Simple as that. So every action in this world is contaminated. The foolish conditioned soul may think he is offering charity by opening hospitals for material benefit or by opening an educational institution for material education. But he does not know that all such work is also faulty because it will not give him relief from the process of transmigration from one body to another. It is clearly stated here, Sad Asad Mishra Yonishu. This means that one may take birth in a very high family, or he may take birth in higher planets among the demigods for his so-called pious activities in the material world. But this work is also faulty because it does not give liberation. To take birth in a nice place or a high family does not mean that one avoids undergoing the material tribulations, the pangs of birth, death, old age, and disease. A conditioned soul under the spell of material nature cannot understand that any action he performs for sense gratification is faulty, and that only his activities and devotional service to the Lord can give him release from the reaction of faulty activities. So only his activities and devotional service to the Lord can give us the relief. Nothing else. No karma, no jnana, no yoga, no other form of yoga, nothing. Because he does not see such faulty activities, he has to discharge, he has to change to different bodies, some high and some low. This is called samsara padavi, which means this material world from which there is no release. One who desires material liberation has to turn his activities to devotional service. There is no alternative. Just Prabhupada's purport is so straightforward. No ambiguity here. No this, no that, no perhaps, no maybe, nothing. So one who desires material liberation has to turn his activities to devotional service. There is no alternative. And other than that, it's just increasing our duration in material world. That's all. So we have to see what do we want. And if we think we can be happy taking birth again, I mean, this is Krishna's. Krishna just given a trailer of Kali Yuga. That's all. And he gives every once in a while. Like reading about Spanish flu about 100 years ago, 50 million people died in that, all over the world. Spanish flu. In World War One, two, so many, millions and millions of people died. But we still don't understand. We just still don't learn our lesson. That's the problem. And that's also, those who want to learn, they can learn. Those who don't want to learn, Krishna makes arrangement that they forget. Because they think, oh, Spanish flu happened 100 years ago, that time we didn't have proper facilities. Now we have the proper facilities, we can win. Okay, show me how we can win. We're not going to win. The win is not that very few people are going to die and we all are going to survive, and I don't know how many are going to die. I don't know. Krishna knows. But this is not the win. This is not the victory. Victory means if we understand from this lesson and take up devotional service seriously. That's all. That's the victory. Text 4. Arthe hi avidyamani hi samsritir na nivartate dhyayato vishayanasya swapne anartha gamo yatha. Actually, a living entity is transcendental to material existence. But because of his mentality of lording it over material nature, his material existential condition does not cease, and just as in a dream, he is affected by all sorts of disadvantages. So again and again, the same theme gets repeated. It's just different speaker, different setting, different place, different time. Basically, it's the same thing. Material nature is not our place where we should be. Devotional service, spiritual world is the only place where we can be. We should be, or we ought to be there. That's all. It just different speakers explain it differently. The example of a dream is very appropriate due to different mental conditions. In dreams, we are put into advantageous and disadvantageous positions. Similarly, the spirit soul has nothing to do with this material nature, but because of its mentality of lording it over, he is put into the position of conditional existence. So our mentality is of lording it over, of controlling the material nature, or trying to control the material nature, or trying to be the enjoyer of this property, or this facility, or that land, or this water, body of water. This is mine, that is mine. Where are we going to take it? Conditional existence is described here as dhyato vishayanasya. Vishya means an object of enjoyment. As long as one continues to think that he can enjoy material advantages, he is in a conditioned life. But as soon as he comes to his senses, he develops a knowledge that he is not the enjoyer, for the only enjoyer is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, he is a beneficiary for all the results of sacrifices and penances. He is a proprietor of all the three worlds, Sarvalok Maheshwara. He is the actual friend of all living entities. So he is the proprietor, enjoyer, controller of everything, but even in that position, he is the Suhrid Sarvadehi now, most beneficiary friend of everybody. Everybody, all living entities. Suhrida Sarvadehi now. Not just of Hindus, not just of people in ISKCON. No, not only of sannyasis. He's a friend of all living entities, even the animals, insects, birds, bees, plants, human beings, up, down, wherever the human beings are. So if my friend, if I have a friend, the best friend, who I can talk to anytime, who I can confide in, who I can rely upon, who I can trust. If I have such a friend, and that person is the richest person in the world, he controls everything, he owns everything, he's the enjoyer of everything. So what is it I have to worry about that? He says, I'm your friend, I'm your best friend, and I own everything. So what in the world the living entity who's surrendered has to worry about? Nothing. It's the only thing we have to worry about is our surrender. How much we surrendered. So that's what friends are for, right? To take care of their poor friends, weak friends who don't have anything, cannot even protect themselves. My best friend, who's the richest person, he says, I'll protect you, don't worry. I'll take care of you. But we don't have faith. We don't have faith. Here he says he's the best friend. And some places he says, Mata ham pita, Mata ham pita ham. The mother and father of all the living entities. Father, we know how the father works because he gives the soul. Mother means mother who takes care of the living and nurtures it, nourishes it. So he is my friend and he is my father, he is my mother, he is my creator. What is it I have to worry about? Nothing, actually. He says, Kaunte prati jani name bhakta pranashati. And he says, those who worship me, I carry what they lack and I preserve what they have. And I personally do it. But do we have faith? Do we have that kind of surrender? If not, then we have to develop that. We cannot find faults with Krishna's words. He is absolute, his words are absolute. So nothing wrong with his words. There's no place for any doubt, no room for any doubts. So here, completely, again and again he's saying, he is the actual friend of all living entities. But instead of leaving proprietorship, enjoyment, and the actual position as a friend of all living entities to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we claim that we are the proprietors, the enjoyers, and the friends. We perform philanthropic work, thinking that we are the friends of human society. Someone may proclaim himself to be a very good national worker, the best friend of the people and of the country, but actually he cannot be the greatest friend of everyone. The only friend is Krishna. Why he is a friend? Now that's another question. How come he claims he's a friend? One way is he remains with his friend, no matter which species the living entity takes a birth in. Krishna remains with him as Paramatma to guide him, to help him. So only friend can do that. And as a friend, he's there to protect us always. Protect us doesn't mean he's going to protect the material body, but he's going to protect the consciousness. He's going to protect the relationship that we have developed with him. So that's why he's a real friend, his actual friend. One should try to raise the consciousness of the conditioned souls to the platform of understanding that Krishna is his actual friend. If one makes friendship with Krishna, one will never be cheated, and he will get all the help needed. Arousing this consciousness of the conditioned soul is the greatest service not posing oneself as a great friend of another living entity. The power of friendship is limited. Although one claims to be a friend, he cannot be a friend unlimitedly. There are an unlimited number of living entities, and our resources are limited. Therefore, we cannot be of any real benefit to the people in general. The best service to the people in general is to awaken them to Krishna consciousness, so that they may know that the supreme enjoyer, the supreme proprietor, and the supreme friend is Krishna. Then this illusory dream of lording it over material nature will vanish. And actually, everybody needs the confidential friend as like Krishna. He needs a person, needs a friend who's always there to help us, like Krishna. Needs a friend who's always there to take care of us. Good time, bad time, he's always there. Just look at how he protected Arjuna in the battle of Mahabharata, even before that also. How he protected Arjuna. Because Arjuna was his friend. He was his devotee and his friend. So the best friendship. So that's we should have this band that they do at every friendship day. I'm your friend. We should do it for Krishna. All we have to do is develop this friendship, and he's there to take care of us. Even without friendship, without us understanding that he's my best friend, he's still taking care of us. He's still providing air and water and sunlight and everything that we need. He's still providing. But what if we develop loving devotion service and then develop this mood of friendship? How much he's going to care for us, we can't even imagine. Text 5. Atev shanashchittam prasaktam astam pathe bhakti yogena tivrena viraktya chanayed vasham. It's the duty of every conditioned soul to engage his polluted consciousness, which is now attached to material enjoyment, in very serious devotional service with detachment. Thus his mind and consciousness will be under full control. The process of liberation is very nicely explained in this verse. The cause of one's becoming conditioned by material nature is his thinking himself as the enjoyer, the proprietor, or the friend of all living entities. This false thinking is a result of contemplation on sense enjoyment. When one thinks that he is the best friend to his countrymen, to society, or to humanity, and he engages in various nationalistic, philanthropic, and altruistic activities, all that is just so much concentration on sense gratification. The so-called national leader or humanist does not serve everyone. He serves his senses only. That's a fact. The so-called national leader, humanist, or philanthropist does not serve everyone. He serves his senses. Because it makes me feel good, I go out and take care of people. Somebody might say, but still taking care of people is nice because they are suffering, and then somebody has to look after them. Which is fine. There's nothing wrong in being compassionate. But at the same time, what's the difference between this devotional service and social service? Social service, we become compassionate, or sometimes we just we just want name, fame. So we do some activities to take care of humanity, to take care of suffering people or animals, which is nice, there's nothing wrong. But like Prabhupada saying, it's the basis is sense gratification. How? So sometimes it is direct sense gratification, because just I feel good, and sometimes it's mental comfort, and sometimes even if I have to go through some tribulation to serve somebody, what will be the reaction of that karma? That will be considered a very great pious activity. The reaction will be, it's possible that next life I can be transferred to heavenly planets. And what happens in heavenly planets? Ultimate sense gratification. And this is what Prabhupada explained it in one of the either lectures or conversations. So even if we do some philanthropic activities at the great disturbance to us, or great anxiety, or too many problems, we still go and serve people. It will be considered a great pious activity, and we can be transferred to the heavenly planet and enjoy there to the fullest extent possible, whatever possibilities there. But then again, we have to come back. Shene Punya Marte Lokam Shanti. After the quota of pious activities is over, one comes back to this Marte Lok, earthly planet, and start all over. But at the same time, if one does devotional service, now devotional service, I'm not saying just go sit in the temple and don't help anybody else. We should help. The compassion has to be there in a devotee. It's bound to happen that he develops compassionate nature. But help them, first of all, understanding that I'm not the doer. Krishna is the doer. Understanding, not just outwardly saying so. There's so many people. Outwardly they say so, but inwardly they think, they have full faith that I am the one who's doing all this. So first of all, we have to come to this point that whatever is happening, whatever I'm being able to do is by mercy of Krishna. And then secondly, we look at everybody connected with Krishna when we are serving. In that mood, we should be serving. And then if we can serve prasadam, that's the best thing. First offering everything to Krishna with love and devotion, and then offering this prasadam to everybody else. Understanding that these folks are suffering because they are away from Krishna. Krishna, please engage them in your service. Constantly, if we are in this consciousness, there are chances we can be doing the things correctly. Even the philanthropic activities we can be doing correctly. So there are so many ways. Basically, our consciousness has to be proper, even when we are doing philanthropic work. Consciousness has to be properly placed. Like Prabhupada said, this means that one should not think that he is a proprietor, benefactor, friend, or enjoyer. He should always be cognizant that the real enjoyer is Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is the basic principle of Bhakti Yoga. One must be firmly convinced of these three principles. One should always think that Krishna is a proprietor, Krishna is an enjoyer, and Krishna is a friend. Not only should he understand these principles himself, but he should try to convince others and propagate Krishna consciousness. As soon as one engages in such serious devotional service of the Lord, naturally the propensity to falsely claim lordship over material nature disappears. That detachment is called vairagya. Instead of being absorbed in so-called material lordship, One engages in Krishna consciousness. That is the control of consciousness. The yoga process necessitates controlling the senses. Yoga Indriya Samyama. Since the senses are always active, their activities should be engaged in devotion service. One cannot stop their activities. If one wants to artificially stop the activities of the senses, his attempt will be a failure. Even the great yogi Vishwamitra, who was trying to control his senses by the yoga process, fell victim to the beauty of Menaka. There are many such instances. Unless one's mind and consciousness are fully engaged in devotional service, there is always the opportunity for the mind to become occupied with desires for sense gratification. So every step, every time we have to remind ourselves, Krishna is a controller, Krishna is a proprietor, Krishna is the enjoyer, Krishna is a friend. I'm just a servant, that's all. One particular point mentioned in this verse is very significant. It is said here, prasaktam asatam pati. The mind is always attracted by asat, the temporary material existence. Because we have been associated with material nature since time immemorial, we have become accustomed to attachment to this temporary material nature. The mind has to be fixed at the eternal lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. Sarvai Manah Krishna Padaravindayo. One has to fix the mind at the lotus feet of Krishna, then everything will be very nice. Thus, the seriousness of Bhakti Yoga is stressed in this verse. So it's just we have to take it up more seriously, more and more seriously. And then Krishna is there to help us. Krishna is there to protect us. No doubt about it. So anyway, I'll just stop here. See anybody has any questions or comments.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much for this.
Thank you.
Prabhuji, the Nirguna and Saguna, can you please explain?
Nirguna means without any material qualities. I mean, Krishna is called Nirguna, but Nirguna doesn't mean no qualities. It means no material qualities. And Saguna means he has all the qualities, all the transcendental qualities he has, for sure.
Okay. And what about Sakam and Nishkam?
Sakam karma means with the desire. Kam means to enjoy yourself. So the sakam means with the desire to enjoy yourself. Nishkam means without any desire.
Okay. So Bhakti Yoga is also like Bhakti Yoga is also divided into like Sakam Bhakti, Nishkam Bhakti, like that.
See, ultimately Bhakti Yoga is pure. But in the beginning there could be some additions like sakam, you said.
Okay.
But the advantage of Bhakti Yoga is if one engages in Bhakti, even with material desires, slowly, Krishna will purify. It's just like a mango. Once one comes to the Bhakti Yoga platform, he becomes a mango. Now, whether it's a green mango or a fully ripened mango is still mango. So right now we are green mangoes. So with the heat of Bhakti and the association devotees, we become ripe slowly.
Okay. And as you have mentioned about social service and bhakti service, can you like give some example? How can you differentiate about bhakti service? What are like how can we convert social service to bhakti service? Because these are all like making hospitals, schools, or different institutions time to time is also necessary based on the situation. So like that is the job of a philanthropist, as you mentioned. So now like um, uh, when we turn our consciousness completely towards God, thinking that I am not the proprietor. If I am making this hospital for the benefit of the society or anything, so this is like for the pleasure of God. So if somebody is making hospital or any institution with that consciousness, then it will be considered as a bhakti service, or it is still considered as social service.
Not just saying that I'm doing it for God, we have to be doing it
No,
for
no, of
God.
course, it has to come out from the heart itself.
Yeah, just like, I mean, our Bhaktivedanta hospital in Mumbai, now it's a full-fledged hospital. It's a regular hospital, but run, managed, and even all the doctors, nurses, everybody's a devotee. Now they have trained everybody over there so nicely that even the nurses, they were not devotees when they joined, but they were trained to be devotees. And even the patients, they get to see Lord Jagannath every day. Jagannath comes on a cart every day to every patient, and he, whether it's the patient is Hindu, Muslim, doesn't matter.
Mhm.
There's so many Muslims they get treated over there, and they really appreciate the doctors over there. And they get prasadam. They get to see Srila Prabhupada in the lobby of the hospital. There's a little temple also where they can go and chant and meditate if they have to, if they want to. And the doctors also, they are there with tilak, kantimala, and they're serving patients as if Krishna has sent them. So the mood is different. Mood is not to make money to exploit the patients. Mood is to serve. So that makes a big difference.
Yes, another one like concern is about the schools, about the education system. So, like, if you are given a chance, opportunity to open a school, then what should be the main basic important subject for the students? How can we
Well,
turn?
then it should be both spiritual and material. But ultimately, they have to survive in the material world.
Yes.
They need material, technical knowledge. At the same time, even to they, so they are the spirit soul who's not here just to survive in the material world, but here to learn the lesson and go back. So the spiritual knowledge is also necessary. So if the teachers teach, I mean, we can make the curriculum, but if the teachers teach with the proper mentality, proper understanding, proper consciousness, so then the students will come out great. Just like we have Gurukul in Vrindavan, Mayapur, Mumbai, and there's so many schools also associated with ISKCON. So the teachers there, if they are properly trained, they teach properly and they look after the students nicely.
Yeah, because
Ultimately, yeah.
yes,
Ultimately, our consciousness should be this student who has come to me is part and parcel of Krishna. Krishna has sent me this responsibility, not it's a burden for me and or whatever we think of.
yeah, about in the Vedic, I think in the Vedic text about it is mentioned about Purusharth, Dharma, Arth, Kama, Moksha.
Yeah,
So
Chaturpurusharth is said, but Pancham Purusharth is mentioned by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which is prema.
yes, okay. That I was not aware of.
That's why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came.
So thank
Not
you.
just dharma, artha, kam, moksha. We're not even worried about moksha. We go to Prem part.
Right. So, can you help me, Prabhuji? I am I have some students who are visually impaired. They are almost blind.
Mhm.
So, there are many teachers who are giving different lectures on like English, this subject, that subject. But I want to choose a subject which is not like related to textbook. So, what should be the best topic for them? They are all at the age of like 12 to 15 year.
Um, so, so I'm not into the schools. I think the best.
They say that you can choose any topic from Gita, Bhagavatam, yoga, pranayam, anything. They are okay with that.
See, I'm thinking if they're visually impaired or almost visually impaired, like I said, I think we have the books in Braille also in Mumbai. They are available, if I'm not wrong. One is that, and second is if they can learn bhajans and kirtan,
Okay.
because for them learning the philosophy will be little difficult because reading is not there. So, but bhajans and kirtan they can learn very nicely. Start with that, and maybe slowly, Krishna will guide you.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good idea. Thank you very much, Prabhuji.
You're welcome. Any other question or comment?
Thank you, Prabhuji, and thank you, Mashmi Mataji, for asking such a good questions, and we also enlightened by these. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Mata. Chalo, we'll stop here. You all have a wonderful and safe day. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri
Hare
Hare
Prabhupada.
Krishna.
Krishna, Jai
Jai
Srila
Shri Prabhupada.